Hello, my name is Ashley, and today I'm going to talk about two different types of validation that I implemented within this Laravel project. And the project is a documents CRUD app as well as REST API. For the purpose of these two types of validation, I will be discussing the web API used for the web application. So what you're looking at here is the create template. Can show you what that looks like on the web application. Sorry I didn't style this as I was focused on the functionality, because you can dynamically create a document with as many keys, types, and values as you like. So, yeah, that comes from this Blade template. Blade is the Laravel template engine, and it allows us to do some nifty shortcuts like this @CSRF is just providing a default security feature, which is a token passed to the post request when this form is submitted. And this form is going to the /documents URI. I really like that you can get a list of all those paths by doing PHP artisan route :list. As mentioned, this is using the web API. So here's all of the web API endpoints. And these come from the documents controller. I do have a separate documents API controller. So here's the one for this form. Going to /documents and invoking the store function from the controller. And that's another standard Laravel practice, which is to call that function where a new resource is being inserted into the database. We call that store, as opposed to create, which is just bringing you to the create view here. So for form validation, I'll discuss the first type, which is client-side validation. That is when, for each of the required pieces of data coming from our input boxes and dropdown, we have this like required attribute. You just need to add it onto each piece, and then the form will check for those. And to show you this, I need to comment out the code for the other behind the scenes validation. All right, now to try to create, you can see it throwing up that error message. So it's really cool, but it is not sufficient validation because somebody can go in and easily remove those. And in doing so, they can get to our store function. But thankfully, I am checking for some required attributes. So that's what's blocking it now. And that is our second form of validation. So what's going on here in the store function is we are calling request, which is the instance of the current HTTP request coming in, then calling validate to validate the request data. Now, what I decided to validate is that every object in this array passed to the document is going to contain a value for key type and value. Let me show you what I mean. Here's one that I previously created. So each one of those rows in the table form is corresponding to one of these objects in the array. And what our rule is doing is it's checking that the key has something there and that it's not longer than 255 characters. And for type, it's checking that there's a string, number, or date as a value. And then for value, we're checking that there's at least 3 characters because that seems more realistic, we think. So now I can show you what that looks like, but I need to hide the validation from the client side so that you can see this validation. Alrighty, now we got this red box with errors. This is because our validation rules setup have failed, and so we're redirecting to the previous page, and then the errors are coming through into this this div, and that is being called with Blade. It's calling this errors partial. So on the condition that we have errors, this div class notification is danger will display, and then for each error we are going to display its text as a list item. Oh, and the other thing about the rule is I did use asterisks as a wild card since there is an array of objects. This is saying that this object generated from this row, so index 0, needs a key and a value. So now, if I go in and I pass something value, I'm just gonna say value. Now if we create, there we go, it worked. I believe it's this one. You can see it in the database. I use this SQL Pro. Here it is. So it met all validation rules, and so that request succeeded. And just so you know, you can create all types of neat custom validation rules. I hardly got into it, but they were available. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I was able to find some by looking here at the documentation. So looks like they have some rule already set up that you can easily check that a valid email is being passed. So yeah, those are the two types of validation, client side from the template, as well as within the controller using the custom rules available through Laravel. So that was all I wanted to share. Thank you.